Now, living and working with this chassis, it has been a mixed pleasure. Alright, welcome to my local range. It's still December, it's not quite as cold today, but we'll see what we can do. This is the Vesion chassis that we're looking at today. And there is in the Vesion chassis a 223 chambered Tika T3X CTR. So, and there is a set of legs on there that we'll talk a little bit about later. That's 944, 947 average. All right. The Vesion chassis has a bunch of different attributes that we would like to have on a chassis. We have a floor end that can be changed out. We have a bunch of nuts down at the bottom here. I'll show you that on the bench. We have a magazine release that's really nice, easy to get to. We have a rear end that's highly adjustable. You can adjust for length of pull, back and forth. I'll show you that on the bench also. You can adjust for height of the butt pad. I'll show you more about that at the bench as well. Height of the cheek well. I'll show you that at the bench as well. And you can also adjust for where you want your bipod because you have the ARCA rail at the bottom. Now, living and working with this chassis, it has been a mixed pleasure. All right, welcome to the bench. Today we're looking, as you probably know, at the Vesion chassis. We've been working with this, or I've been working with this chassis for quite some time now. Had it to the range, I've been shooting long distance with it. I've been shooting a little bit of PRS training with it, and so far it's been treating me good. And right now I have a Tika T3X CTR chambered in a 223 in here. We had that at a 1500 meter competition a couple of weeks ago, and I managed to get it to 900 meters, 6 out of 10 at 900 meters, which was okay with the 223, I guess, with a 55 grain projectile running 945 meters per second, so that's quite decent. And all of this is basically irrelevant for the chassis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rifle out of the chassis, and then we're going to talk about the chassis alone and the adjustment possibilities that the chassis does have. So to do this, it's relatively simple. There are two Allen bolts inside here, or two Allen nuts in here. They're situated inside the chassis. Right in here, you have the two, oops, not there, there and there, two Allen head keys. This is a Allen head 5. And what you do is you simply get your Allen key down there into the groove and you loosen this up. Now, tightening this down, of course you need torque wrenches and you need all kinds of stuff, calibration tools and all kinds, this, that, and the other thing. You need a bunch of stuff to set this in there, but to take it out, it is as simple as it sounds. You undo 2 screws, you lift that off, and there you have one rifle separated from one chassis. Now we're going to set this aside. This is also a standard Tika CTR mag that goes into the Vesion chassis. This has nothing to do with the chassis. It was the original magazine for the rifle, so we're going to set that aside. Everything that is in the box version of the Vesion chassis is screws are included, so I'll put those there, and the weights out here are not included. So everything you basically have included is from here to here, except the weights. You buy it in separate boxes. You buy it as a middle section, a rear section, and a front section. So it's a put together yourself kind of deal, basically. What I like about the put it together yourself deal is that you can decide what kind of front end you want in here, and you can also basically decide what kind of rear end you want in here. You can decide if you want a folding stock or if you want an enclosed forend, short, long forend. That's kind of cool. And when talking about the rear end, the front end isn't all that exciting. You get a front end with M-lock sections. This is I believe the 20-inch version. I'm not quite sure, I don't remember. But you have M-lock all the way out. You have threaded M4 screw holes all the way down. You also have threaded holes along the top, so you can close this up with a top section, so you can mount an NB bridge or whatever. On the bottom, you get a bunch of screws here. We'll talk about that a little later. And you get a bunch of holes there. And you get an Arca Swiss section built into the forend. I like that a lot, that's built in there. Now, moving to the back, where a lot more is going on. This is also the grip that's included in the box when you buy it. I'm not a big fan of this. This is something that I would probably swap out relatively quickly if I was not doing a test and review of the chassis with what comes with it, except for the add-ons that I put on there, the thumb rest and the weights. Other than that, this is bone standard. So I like this. We'll talk about why in a little bit. I also like that you have the opportunity to adjust the cant on your back piece here. You can adjust that to be upside down if you want. That's really cool because you can adjust your rear piece here to fit your shoulder and the way that you're in prone or when standing up or whatever. You can also adjust the rear end here to be either low or high, depending on also where you are as a shooter. And that's something that we've talked quite a bit about here at the channel, is the ability to customize your system. Now the bag rider is also adjustable, goes up and down. I like to just have that in line with my with the rear end here. That makes it a little bit longer on the bag rider, and makes it look a little bit sleeker, if you ask me. Another really cool thing about the Vesion chassis that some of the other chassis manufacturers might not have is that you can, when zeroing your system, you can move your butt plate away, and then you can raise up your cheek piece. The reason why this is kind of cool is that you have an inside geometry on the cheek piece, and it's only single-sided the mount is only single-sided. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. But when it's only single-sided, that means, and it's single-sided offset to one side, that means that you can get to bore sight your system without taking everything apart. We'll talk a little bit about another chassis where that's not an option. So this is quite cool if you do not have a folding stock. I mean, if you have a folding stock, that's not an issue. It's not a problem. You just fold your stock out of the way, and hey presto, you can zero your rifle. Back here, you have, and all the adjustments are with these butterfly nuts, I like to call them, because they kind of look like the wings of a butterfly. And that allows you to maneuver around and make the length of pull 23 millimeters, I believe it is, longer, or 23 millimeters shorter. To me, that's a little bit on the short side for length of pull. I have it extended fully, and I need that because I'm a relatively large guy. Now, you can buy for the Vesion chassis extra pieces that make this longer, but they're also quite expensive. And when paying this kind of money for a chassis, I think it would be really cool if they included like 3 or 4 of them in the package, so you could shorten it up or keep them on if you feel so inclined. Now, we were talking about some of the holes that are in this chassis. And the holes in the bottom of the chassis are meant I'm gonna have to excuse the light discrepancy, but hopefully now my camera can see the geometry on the inside. There we go. The geometry on the inside of the Vesion forend. That geometry in there corresponds with the holes on the bottom. And that's where you mount your weights, your internal weights. Now you can put quite a bunch of weight in there, and you can also put quite a bunch of weight on the outside. So this can become very, very heavy. That's good for recoil, not so good for lugging it around out in a forest. Now, the Vesion chassis also has what I feel is a really cool mag release. It's huge. That to me is really, really great. And using this chassis with the magazines, they also drop right out, which is also cool, because when on a stage where everything has to go really, really speedy, it's nice to have possibilities of doing a quick magazine change. On the other side here, you get a bubble level built into the chassis. That's also kind of cool. I like that a lot, because often the bubble levels on the mounts get covered by the scope end, the ocular. That kind of sucks, because then you can't really see the bubble level in there anyway. I really like the bubble levels that are on the side of the mounts. That's just me. If you have another preference, please let me know in the comments. And offhand, I think this was basically it for the Vesion chassis. This is, of course, the Gen 1 chassis. There's a new one out. But the fact that I'm not monetized yet, and I'm not really making any money off of this, I can't afford to buy one to show you. So please
like, share, and most importantly, subscribe so that I can get monetized and buy all the coolest new gear to put on the channel without having to be sponsored. Because being sponsored also means that I'm going to have to do some stuff that I don't want to. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't tried to be sponsored yet. Well, that's not entirely true, but I try not to let that affect the way that I talk about the gear that I'm talking about. So overall, working with this thing, you need to set up your system for whatever you want, whatever it is you want to do. This is not really a dynamic stock or a dynamic chassis. And the reason for it not being dynamic is that these butterfly nuts, I have a tendency to really tighten those down. If you don't tighten them down so much, I guess I haven't actually tried if they stay there or not, so I couldn't tell you. I can just tell you that they stay there when you tighten them down the way I tighten them down. And there's no problem whatsoever getting that tightened down, and it's staying there. I'm gonna get some light on this thing so you can really see how it looks all the way down. Bottom. And mind you, this is not a light chassis. This is about 5 kilos, I would guess. Actually, I'm just gonna weigh it. Alright, as is here without any weights on it, this is 2,496 grams. So it's not a light chassis at all, but to me that doesn't really matter because I'm in the prone anyway, shooting from a bipod with a rear rest, or on a barricade, shooting from a tripod, or shooting from the barricade with a tripod as a rear rest. But PRS is also something that really damages the rifle. Shooting that many shots in that fast succession with the barrel getting that hot is not something that's good for the rifle. That's not what we're talking about today. And I do believe we're about done talking about what we're talking about today. The Vesion Pro chassis is cool. It's nice to use. It's well put together. Everything is metal except for the jig riser. Top here is plastic. The pistol grip is also some kind of rubberized plastic, and of course the butt plate down here is also some type of rubberized plastic on top of aluminum. Oh, well, we could also just mention that you have QD sling mounts 2 places on the rear of the front end and on the front of the front end. That's on both sides. You also get QD slings or QD sling mount points on the rear end down here, the rear of the forend, and at the front of the forend, and that's on both sides. This is not an ambidextrous stock. This is only for a left-handed shooter, but I guess if you wanted to, you could mill out this side and make it ambidextrous. I don't think that would be too big of a problem. You need to mill out 2 places. You need to mill out for the bolt here, and then you need to mill out for the bolt release over here, and I think you'd be fine. I've done that to MDT ESS chassis. I'm a left-handed shooter, but I was curious as if it was possible or not, and it was. But yeah, this is the Vesion chassis. chassis. Brought to you by Ideal Steel at ELR-Precision. Make sure to subscribe, stay safe, and stay tuned.